Okay, this is a video that'll cover some common errors I see when students turn in their three-piece elbow elbow development. Almost everyone gets this part right that I'm showing here. This is just a rehash of the truncated cylinder that we did earlier in the class. Exactly the same, no different. Of course, the angle and size may be different, but the technique is exactly the same. If you take the time to do some measurements, you'll notice that this is a truncated cylinder that is exactly like the one down on the bottom. It's just pointed horizontally. So you can keep that in mind when you're doing your development. The only thing we really need to account for is this piece in the middle. Now, the handout shows a rectangle, okay, and it has this portion that we've developed here, okay, under the spline, and it also has a portion in the middle and a portion at the top which looks like the mirror image of this. Okay, now how do you create the other two portions? Well, it has to do with this XX line. Okay, and if you take the time and measure across, you'll see that every line on this side of the XX line is the same length as every line on this side. Okay, and it's a 45-degree elbow as well. Okay, so you can't just always assume this, but in this particular case, that's what we're looking at. Okay, so how do we place the XX line in the development? And what I'm going to do is actually work backwards. I'm going to take a measurement, do an offset, and then it'll make sense of why I do this. So let me just take this measurement and hang on just a second, and we'll get to the Y. Now that distance is 4.1421. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset this line by that amount. So offset, enter, 4.1421, and I'll offset that there, and this is that offset line. Okay, so let me just do MA and enter to match properties. This is going to be my XX line in the development. Okay, and what I want to do, I just want to mirror across the spline across this XX line here. Okay, and then I can just simply draw some connecting lines in here to account for the piece in the middle. Now you may be wondering, how in the world did you come up with that? Okay, well, it really just comes down to taking a couple of measurements and looking at the original piece very closely. Let me finish putting my X's in there. Okay, so this is the XX line in the development. So now if I take some measurements, if I measure DI here from this corner to this corner, that's 8.2843. Okay, so the distance from here to here is 8.2842. It must not snap to the right place. Close enough. The distance from here to here is 4.1421. So from the peak here to the peak of the other one should be 4.1421, and as you can see, it is. Okay, so again, the distance between these two, or the area between these two splines and these two outside lines, it accounts for this angled portion of the development. And of course, this portion above the spline is exactly like this one because the measurements are the same here and here. Okay, and that's a quick way to do the entire development. But you have to take some measurements and make sure that what you're transferring is correct. But that's a quick and easy way to finish this development. And that concludes this video.